everyone, and welcome to the Podcasting for Your Business or Brand presentation. Before we begin, let me just tell you a little bit about who I am. For those that do not know me, I am the CEO of A. Blake Enterprises, social media marketing and consulting. I'm also an award-winning blogger, and podcast host. I have 2 podcasts. I'm a professional speaker. I have been an educator. I started in 1983. I received my BS degree in elementary education from Delaware State College, which is now Delaware State University. But the most proud of all is I'm the wife of 30 years and the mother of 2 adult sons, and I'm so proud of them. My oldest is Tyre. He was my miracle child. He was actually 3 months early, 2.5 pounds, and the doctor said that he wasn't going to live. Tyre will be turning 29 on the 23rd of June. And then the baby is Malik. He is a recent graduate of Bowie State University. That's a picture of us back in 2017. He's a recent graduate of Bowie State University. He is now employed full-time. Hubby is retired from the state of Delaware as an educator. So again, I'm so glad that I have an opportunity to come out with you today to talk about podcasting. And this is not new, right? This is definitely not new, because those of us in Delaware, we know about the Delaware Business Times, right? We've got copies out there in the lobby. Well, this was actually an article that I contributed to in the technology section of the Delaware Business Times in July 10th, 2018. And the topic is, does your business need a podcast? Come on in. And this was actually me, pre-glasses, before I needed to wear glasses. But I was even talking about podcasting for businesses in 2018. And I'm just so super excited that we're continuing along this vein. So again, for you guys, today we're gonna just kind of talk about not only the power of podcasting, but we're just really gonna start with what is a podcast, because a lot of people really don't know what a podcast is. And I liken it to maybe radio reimagined with a purpose and a plan. And you think about this, remember the movie Christmas Story with Ralphie? Yeah. And Ralphie, they would Christmas, at 6 o'clock, they'd sit down around the radio and they listen to Little Orphan Annie. They had to be there. But podcasting is a radio, but you don't have to be there. It's very convenient. You can listen to a podcast anywhere at any time, and you can create a podcast anywhere and any time as well. And you want to say, well, why should I start a podcast? People are podcasting, is it too late? No. Think about this. Podcasting, it just hit 1 million episodes, I believe, the end of 2020. And that may seem like a lot, but I'm a blogger and I've been blogging since 2012. There are over 650 million blogs. So you got 650 million blogs and people are blogging every day. 1 million podcasts. Yes. It's new. It's still very new because it is a great medium. And I think what happened with COVID, with us being isolated and insulated, podcasting, that catchphrase was like, well, what is a podcast? And then all of a sudden, people started podcasting, starting a podcast. I was watching television just the other night, and it was the sports guy on the radio, and he said, my podcast launched tonight. So he's a big figure already on radio, already on television, and now he's starting a podcast because it's not in addition, but it's expanding your brand. So that is what podcasting is about, and because we all have something to share, we all should leave a legacy. This is the perfect medium in which to do so. It's inexpensive, it's convenient, and it can be started literally overnight. So that's one thing. And then at the end, we're gonna break and we're gonna talk about starting. I want you to start thinking about, when I start my podcast, what is it that I'm good at? What do I wanna talk about? And then we'll go from there. So we're gonna go through what is a podcast, the power of a podcast, why start a podcast, how to start a podcast, and of course, We'll talk about equipment and training. And here at home, everybody, come here at home starting on the 8th of April, there will be a podcasting studio. So you will be able to not only come in and learn about podcasting, but if you already have a podcast, you can come in here and you can record your podcast. You can bring your guests in. So that's going to be coming soon. I'm going to let you guys know that that's coming out soon. And that's really exciting, I think, for Middletown. I'm like so super excited, right? Yay! Podcasting at home. So again, what is a podcast? It's simple distribution of audio. That's it, audio. Now, can you have a video or visual podcast? Yes, but we're not talking about that today. We're simply talking about audio, auditory listening. And auditory, you play it back from your computer, from your smartphone, from your artificial devices. And you know we have artificial devices built into our refrigerators, right? Into our watches, into the dog leashes. So it makes it so convenient that you can literally listen to a podcast anywhere, anyhow. And I used to tease people before COVID. I used to say, I bet you, you go into church or a mosque or a synagogue and you see a lot of people in there. I bet you there were some guys in there, no offense guys, listening to the sports. I bet you they were listening to a sport. So you can do that as well. You can be, okay, honey, or okay, boyfriend, I'm going with you. And then you pop those earbuds in your ear and they don't know that you're not listening or watching the game at all. Yeah, exactly. You go into the bowling alley, you're sitting there, you're listening to a podcast. So it's a really great way to do it. And again, think of it as radio reimagined, radio on demand, but with a purpose and a plan. Because with anything, any form of social media, you should have a purpose. You should have a strategy. Don't just go on willy-nilly just because, everybody's doing it. That's not the reason why you should do it. And that can be very dangerous as well, because some people are just out there doing anything, and we see that. And unfortunately, that's going to last them forever. That is your brand. Your brand is your bond is your brand, and you have to be very careful because it will stick with you for life. And I like to say to those parents that think it's cute, you're embarrassing your kids, so stop it. All right, so let's just start with the power of podcasting. Again, this is a very intimate relationship. A podcast is very intimate. The largest sexual organ in a human's body is between their ears. That's their brain. So when someone chooses to plug these earphones into their ears or pop those headphones over their head, you are connected to them. It's you and them. So that is a great way to connect with someone. It's very intimate. And you know what? You can do it anywhere. I love being out in front of the public. I love giving presentations. But imagine this room was full of 500 people, even 100 people. That's what a podcast can do. It can get to 100 people, 1,000 people, 1,000,000 people. And guess what? You don't even have to get dressed up. You don't have to put on your green, you don't have to put your belt on, you don't have to suck in your gut, you don't have to do that because no one is seeing you. I mean, if you thought that Zooming was cool, can you imagine? You don't have to get dressed at all. And again, that's why I'm not talking about visual podcasts, because if you're gonna do a visual podcast, you gotta be dressed from up or whatever. But here, you can be wherever. You can be in your Jimmy Jams, you can be in your closet, you can be in the powder room, you can be in the bathroom, you can be under a table, you can make a fort, you can be anywhere to do a podcast and no one sees it. And you know what? You are commanding thousands and hundreds. And imagine, like I said, if that was your forte and you loved being out in the public, but now you can, here's your platform right here. And again, you're able to storytell. You can share your entertaining thoughts, your expertise, or even education. This is great for teachers. This is great for business owners because, who wants to sit in a meeting, even a Zoom meeting at 4 o'clock on a Friday to cover everything that happened during the week or the quarter? If you have a business podcast, that information can be recorded and disseminated. And then your employees, your students, your clients, they can listen to it at their leisure. They could be on the golf course listening to the podcast. If you say, okay, listen to the podcast, we're gonna cover A, B, C, and D. On Monday, when we reconvene, let's talk about it. So now Friday, they're on their own. They can listen Saturday, Sunday, or even early Monday morning as they're commuting, because it's not mandatory for them to sit and listen at a particular time. And for kids, I mean, I don't know about you. I cannot sit at a computer all day, every day. That's not healthy. It is not healthy. Smoking used to be the killer. Now sitting is the killer. And you've got kids sitting in front of screens. Well, why not give them their information so that they can pop their earbuds in and go out and play basketball, or sit upside down, do a yoga pose, whatever. They can lay on the sofa, they can sit at the kitchen table, they can do all of these things. And a lot of kids are not good when it comes to reading. They learn better by listening, because guess what? Your imagination is powerful. So you can read your kids a story, and you remember when you were a kid, you sat there. It wasn't what was being said, it was how it was being said. Your imagination. My sons, when they were little, those big guys now, but when they were little, having them on either side of me in the bed reading, Mickey Mouse, the magician, or whatever, their imagination, using the voice, they were like, they probably didn't know what I was talking about, but listen to the way mommy's reading. So, or their imagination of seeing something sparkle. So again, this may help those children that have problems with reading or speaking, but they're listening. And this is a great way for teachers to connect with those types of students, and even creating podcasts for the classroom. So this is another great way for education, not just business, but for education, and empower. Look, this number, this was the number before. Now they're saying it's 70 million, but I believe it's still 90 million now. There are more than 90 million Americans listening monthly. We know this is a global world. So that's 90 million here. Can you imagine how many people all around the world? And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? We just landed on Mars. It just opened up a whole new planet there. Now, so imagine if with it, and I'm not going to get into their life outside of the Earth. Well, imagine you can reach a whole nother set of people from another planet. So again, it's out there. It's a very powerful medium for you not to only promote yourself, but to connect and engage with others as well. So that is why I am so super excited about how podcasting is evolving, how it is changing, and how it's still the really great foundation to build onto your brand. So why start a podcast? It's easy. Yeah. Who doesn't like to talk? I know I like to talk all day, every day. I can talk forever. Men will say, my wife will blah, 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 blah. And wives will say, my husband, once you get him on the subject of something, he blah, blah, blah. Everyone has something that they want to talk about. And they want to connect with others who like to talk about it or share, right? As a matter of fact, I think I'm about to sign a new client. Yeah, I'm going to sign a client. But it's a bunch of guys, and they talk about pets and pet parents. Now, who would have thunk? But guess what? That's interesting, and I bet you it's going to do well. Yeah, it's going to do really well, because now the wife doesn't have to sit there and listen to them talk about blah, 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 blah. They can come together and they can open up and just spill it out, right? So that's so cool for them. You can choose to listen to a podcast anywhere, at any time, whether you're in your vehicle. And now vehicles are rolling off the lines with infotainment centers. They want you to learn, to listen. How many times have you driven from Delaware to Maryland? You get to that point and the static, that radio static. Your favorite station is gone. So now you're trying to figure out I'm trying to find the same station, whether it's R&B or country western, whatever. You need to find it in that next, with a podcast, it will go with you wherever. Wherever, just press in wherever you want, whatever you will listen to, it's going to follow you forever. So you don't have to, play around doing that. And again, artificial intelligence in your refrigerator, you can tell Alexa or Siri or whomever, hey, play the Delaware Blogger podcast. And if it's in there, it's going to come up. No, you don't have to do anything. It's really easy. And if you are a creator, you can do it with your phone, just with your phone. You don't even need any special equipment. Now, as you go on and get better, you're going to want to upgrade your equipment, but to start with your smartphone and a free app. Podcasting is push versus pull marketing. What do I mean by that? Okay, so as a business owner, you want to get in front of as many people as you can. You want to send them out newspapers, flyers, you want billboards, you want to get on radio, whatever. You're pushing that marketing information onto your clients. They may read it, they may not. How many times do we walk from the mailbox, going through the mail, and seeing what's trash, and we walk by the recycle bin, and bloop, there it goes. So you just spend all this money thinking you had this great campaign, and it doesn't even make it into the house. It ends up in the recyclable bin. You can't put flyers on windshields anymore. You get in trouble for that. They do that to Silver Lake. I got in trouble a couple of years ago for putting flyers like Avon on thing. I'm like, the guy came by, was pulling them off. I'm like, I just spent all my money. So you can't do that. Now, if someone chooses to listen to your podcast, your information, they are pulling down that content. They are strategic about, I want to hear that. I want to know more about that. So you created a show that they're pulling down. So that's pull versus push marketing. It doesn't go in the trash. You know, if you have a good podcast, they're going to listen to it every day, every week at their leisure. They'll even binge sometimes. So that's pull versus push. And that's going to save you a little bit of money as well. Because who wants to keep sending out flyers and leaving flyers and walking in here? You know, people come in here and say, can I leave I did it to you. Can I leave my magazines here? You know, hope somebody's going to pick it up. And then somebody, probably Jen or Rosemary, even Chris might go through, okay, this is 6 months old, and guess what happens? Boom, goes right in the trash. So again, if someone pulls down a podcast, they're getting that information. And you're building trust. Again, that relationship. If you have an intimate relationship, you have to trust that person on the other end, right? So now they're trusting you. They trust, they like, and when it's ready to sell to them, most likely they'll what? Buy from you, because they've built that relationship. And again, there's nothing that you or I that can't be done quicker, faster, cheaper by somebody else down the street. But they're only gonna come to us because there's something about us that they like. And we'll pay a little bit more. You go into the grocery store, right? And there's aisles of bread and aisles of milk. You're gonna choose the one that you like, even though they have the same ingredients. It's something about it. It might be the packaging, it might be that they give back, it might be something. You just like it. So they trust you, they're gonna buy it. And if they don't have it, they won't get it. You'll go down the street and get it from somebody else. So you're building a relationship and your trust factor. Again, you've got that attentive audience. You know, even though they're walking the dog or doing yoga exercises, you're plugged into their ear. It's just you and them. That's it. They don't hear anybody else. They're not hearing the minister, the preacher, the imam, the bishop, nobody. They're not listening to anybody. They're not listening to the scores of the baseball. They're listening to you. Okay, so you got their attention. 100% open rate. How many of us send out newsletters and pray for at least 20-30% open rate? We go and look at those analytics. Oh my God, did anybody open it up today? You know, do I send it out at 7 o'clock on a Sunday? Do I send it out at 6 o'clock on a Friday? You know, you never know when they're gonna open it up. And you pray, please, you know, MailChimp, MailerLite, you know, constant contact, whatever. What is the open rate? And you go and it says 5%. You're like, damn, you know, what did I not do? This is 100% open rate, because they're opening it up because they want to hear it. There's no guessing games, you know. They're opening it, their downloads are showing, whatever. So this is when they go, they're searching for the content, just like they're doing a Google search. I want to hear a podcast on whatever. So they're looking for you. And investors are putting in crazy bank. NBC, ABC, NPR, Spotify, all the big dogs are putting in Netflix. They know that podcasting is the next form of media that people want. So they're gonna have a whole department. You know, NPR opened up a whole podcast department. So they're opening up, they're putting money, they're investing, and they're going after popular shows and popular people. Demi Moore, Dennis Quaid, Michelle Obama, Oprah Winfrey. I mean, everybody. And you know what most of these people are doing? Repurposing content that they've already had. They're not doing anything new. You've heard it before. They got a book, they're reading the book. Oprah's show, Oprah's been on since what we talked about, the 80s. All she's doing is repurposing some of her shows. And she's just talking about it. Right. She doesn't have to create any new content. It's there. You don't have to recreate the wheel. How easy is that? And to get paid to do something, Oprah got more money than everybody, you know, and now she's just gonna make even more. And the investors are gonna come and give more money, and you know, the advertisers are gonna wanna be on the show. So again, this increases your reach. Oprah has the reach of the world already. Why does she need a little podcast? She's got one. You know, you got a podcast, everybody's got a podcast, everybody should have a podcast. vote for what everyone should do, and you're doing it in a non-salesy manner. You're not getting on there saying, buy, come, buy. You're having a conversation, and you don't have to, your podcast doesn't have to be strictly about your business. Mm-hmm. In your business, you can find something that's light and entertaining. If you produce a product, say it's paint, talk about the paint guy, right? So he's a painter, okay? Nobody's gonna wanna release to a podcast about painting, but there are ways that you should have done painting. There's do's and don'ts. There's things that you should think about. There's all kinds of things, arts and designs, and now it's spring when you think about, you can talk about things all over, and you can talk about everything, health and safety, OSHA guidelines. You can put in a little bit of everything for people who may be interested in your paint podcast. Again, it builds trust with your audience, and that I think is like, if people trust you, that is just that's it. They always say, I've been married 30 years, and I trust my husband. I'm telling you, and I've had women look at me like, are you crazy? You don't think he, I'm like, no, I trust him, because that's the relationship that we have. And plus, I'd kill him if he didn't know about that. But anyway, I trust him, so I can go and do and be whatever I want to do. And he knows it's the same for me. I'm not going anywhere. I ain't going diddly squat. First of all, I'm too old, to start all over again. And second of all, that's too much work. So, right? It's too much work. Rather stick with what you know than, go across the grass is always green on the other side. No, it's not. It's because it's fake grass over there. That's why it's green. It's not real. It's artificial turf over there. So don't go over there. Just stay right here and water your own lawn. Right. So that, you trust. I trust my husband. I'm going to stick with my husband. That's it. If your clients trust you, they're going to stick with you. Even if you say, you know what, I kind of increased my prices just a little bit. I'm like, oh, okay, I know you're not trying to harm me. You're not trying to do anything deceive, and it's not artificial turf. You're going to give me the real deal. So again, you're building that trust with that intimacy. I like that story. I got to keep that one for the next one. I just paid that one up. That's why I miss being in front of people. Zoom in, I just can't.
You kind of lose.
Yeah, you lose. You can't. Pivot during the pandemic. Now, eventually, there's going to be a new normal, but this is a great way to pivot. Mm-hmm. You have products that you can't push because you can't be out in the street anymore. You can't have your restaurant open. So now it's time to think about, what can I do in the meantime? Can we talk about this? This is how we make our dishes. This is why these dishes are healthy. This is where you pair it. This is the wine, family, whatever. You can spin it any way to have a podcast, and pivot during the pandemic. So that's also a great reason. So how to start a podcast. And that's why we're going to get into the nuts and bolts, because I want you guys, since you're right here at home and you have your podcasting studio, you should feel free to pop in there anytime of the day or the night and say, you know what, I want to do an episode on this. I want to talk about that. And it comes with the basics. What is it? What is your why? Now I want you to really think about it. What do you want to talk about? Do you want to talk about the business? Do you want to talk about the old country? Do you want to talk, we were having a conversation about the Commodore, a laptop, the evolution of the PC. What is it that you want to talk about? So put that in your head, because that is what's going to wake you up in the middle of the night saying, oh man, I got to talk about this. You and I had a great conversation last week, and it was like, she said something, I never thought about that. But there might be other people that are thinking about that. When you're a parent of a handicapped child who becomes a handicapped adult, you think differently about retirement. It's not the same. Hubby, he retired, he sits home. Yeah, I'm running the business, but I'm thinking long term. I gotta make sure everything's right for Tyre. I can't just off and go someplace and say bye-bye. No, it doesn't work that way. So again, then think about what's gonna wake you up. What do you wanna talk about? So that's the first thing. If you wanna use the worksheet, fine, you can do it later, but know your why. What's your purpose? What's your audience? And why do anybody wanna listen to you? Again, don't just put yourself out there just because. You have to be passionate about what it is that you want to talk about. If you want to talk about kids and you want to talk about support, family support, then that's your why. Think about the pain point. What are you solving for someone else? Mm-hmm. Because remember, not everyone grew up in the same way, same era, at the same time. And remember, this is global. Americans, we're very arrogant. We think we know everything. But that's not the case overseas. What we take for granted may not be taken for granted. You know, we just do things naturally. For us to walk into a grocery store and have to pick up our food, that's like easy. There are places that they don't have that. So if they were to go into a grocery store and they had this, what would you suggest that they fill up on? This can help other people. So don't just think about, you know, Middletown, 19709. Don't even think about just Delaware. Go beyond Delaware, because there are people all over the world. And instead of saying, man, those people are stupid, why not think about something that you can do so that they are no longer stupid? They are more educated. And again, you are sharing your information and you're doing it in a way to help someone else. Now, anytime I have someone sign up to work with me, if they say, oh, I just want to do this because I want to make money, I want to monetize, then I don't want you as a client, because that's not the purpose. I think leaving your legacy and helping someone else, whatever medium you use, whether it's a blog, a podcast, a radio show, a TV, it should be to help someone else, to give back. And that's just me. I may not be as far, you know, in my business as I want to, but I lay head to pillow with a clean conscience. Okay? So that's what I want. I want you to be able to say, yeah, this is what I want, and I want you that to wake you up. Okay? Name your podcast. Then you're gonna think of that name. You want it short and sweet and memorable, you know? And then you'll research, and you know, and I always tell people, how would you feel if you were driving down 95 or Route 1 and you looked up on the billboard and you saw the name of your podcast? How would that make you feel? If that makes you feel good, then that's the name you want to go with. And of course you want to check it and make sure it's not used someplace else, that it's not a .com, a .net, .org, or even like a Facebook or Instagram, you know, handle. So think about it and switch it up. Don't put a whole bunch of bells and whistles, asterisks, underscores, and all that, because most people are going to be checking via a mobile device. And they want to be able to just either ask Siri or ask Alexa or type it in at the stop sign like me. Don't do that. And just, you know, instead of something underscore, or, you know, capital and all that, like those passwords, like 24 characters, gotta have an asterisk, you gotta have you gotta have a number. I'm like, man, what? Can't I just say password, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9? You know, no, okay, so you want it to be good. And then you want to know, you know, do you want to do this by yourself? Or you want to have guests? You want to bring people on? You want to go out on the street? You can actually go out and interview people. When we open up again, you can go to the festivals, you can go to the small businesses, you can go on Main Street, you can go in the schools, whatever. So, you know, think about that. What works for you? Because I often find a lot of time people will say, okay, I'm going to partner up. And lo and behold, one partner can't make it. Something came up, gotta do it, and then you're like pushing the show out. So if you want to partner up with somebody, fine. But if you prefer to go alone, it's even better, because then you can record in the middle of the night, you know, whenever you want, whatever pops in your head. And you can always pre-record and mesh things together. But again, think about that's your format. Your hardware, you can start with a smartphone. Free app, Anchor FM, is where I started in 2017. I still have a podcast on Anchor FM. My podcast is the Delaware Blogger Podcast. Talk about podcasting. That's what I talk about. I teach podcasting on my Delaware Blogger Podcast. Simple, sweet, right? KISS. Everybody know what KISS is, right?
Keep it simple, stupid.
You got it. Easy breezy. Who's the Delaware Blogger? Delaware Blogger Podcast. I mean, it's easy, okay? And then I have today, matter of fact, at 1 o'clock is Blog Your Way to a Business Profit. That's 1 o'clock. Talking about what? Blogging. Okay, help you become a better blogger or start a blog. So that's it. The educator in me will never go away, because I like to give back. I have a lot in this nugget. This nugget will be 60 years old. This one's gonna be celebrating birthday the same day as my husband next month in May. But again, I have a lot and I want to share it. So that's why I create create those 2 podcasts. So later on, you can get yourself a microphone. You can upgrade microphone. I love playing around with microphones to see what works. I've had a Yeti mic like forever. I really don't like the Yeti mic. I like the less expensive ones, but I have them. So you can play around with the microphone, your headphones, your earbuds, and of course the acoustic tiles that keep falling off the wall. So you know what? Go get yourself one of those A-crate mattresses if you're gonna do something at home, or a blanket. Get up under a comforter, you know, or come to podcasting studio at home, and then got it right there. If you don't have anything at home, there's like too many noises, too many kids or dogs or whatever, make an appointment here, pop in here, do your recording, in, out, done. You know, take your MP3 home or your Wi-Fi home and upload it. It's a great way. You know, get out of the house and relax, you know, and just do your thing. So that's another great thing about your hardware. It's not a major investment.